It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome into another Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders on an afternoon drive, and this always takes me back when this is the case. Alan, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. It's just like in season.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's honestly what it's starting to feel like. Listen, that's why, the rookie camp and stuff is what it is. Not much going on there, but just the fact that it was like something to talk about where there were players doing something had already gotten me in like the football mood here. And now we got the schedule release coming tomorrow. So I'm excited. Today we knew that this announcement was coming. We already knew really like who the teams were going to be and stuff, but it becoming official today. And I guess, we can start there. Steelers and Vikings will be the game that's in Ireland. I know that a lot of people had thrown out the Packers, obviously more, I don't want to, even though it's AFC versus NFC, I think that those two organizations, there's a lot of parallels to draw there. And I think that there's some similarities there. So I think that that's what a lot of people were hoping for. Probably more of a fan base too for Green Bay, I would think, over there as well. But it is the Vikings, and I have no problem with that. Alan, I don't know if you're repping the shirt color for the Minnesota Vikings. Some people might mention that in the comments. But what is what was your thought on the matchup in general?
Well, my first thought is that Vikings have traditionally done very well in the British Isles. That is a historical, successful venture for Vikings. The second one is, Steelers are the home team here, but I think a quarterback named McCarthy is going to be pretty popular over there also. You're kind of fighting City Hall a little bit. So, I don't know. And I gave a whole episode full of serious thoughts. Those are some unserious ones.
Aaron O. Rodgers.
Aaron O. Rodgers. Yeah.
How funny would that be? Didn't they do that with like the Pens warm-up jerseys, I think, like around St. Patrick's Day, where they do like Irish names on the jerseys and Irish variation of them? What if they just did that for this game for every single player?
I really wish who they still had on the roster is that they could just do it by just add an apostrophe and make it O Gunjobi.
That's good. I was sitting here. I was like, "Who's he gonna say here?" I was trying to think of like names. That's not where I thought it was going.
Oh no, because it's ridiculous, but it'd be good. It'd be just Gunjobi.
I'm not gonna lie though. It would have been this way regardless of who the opponent was. With the Steelers losing a home game with this, there is a little bit of me that is bummed out just because I wanted to see the Vikings come here and go to the game. First time seeing J.J. McCarthy, obviously, but Justin Jefferson's obviously one of the most electric players in the league. It would have been Jordan Addison coming back to Acrisure Stadium. So part of me is bummed out that they're losing that game and it's not to take place at Acrisure Stadium. But like I said, I would have found a way to not like whatever game they were losing.
Yeah, well, I think from the team's perspective, from like a football perspective, as I said this morning, you want it to be a game that is sort of like the least important possible game on your schedule. And a lot of times that is those NFC games that you only get as home games once every 8 years. And now one of the reasons I think the Packers were so frequently suggested is that, they're in every 8 year, but they were just here 2 years ago. They were the extra game, the 17th game in 2022. And so it wouldn't be such a big deal taking a Packers game away from Steelers fans as opposed to a Vikings game. However, I think Aaron Rodgers potentially being on the Pittsburgh Steelers may have changed the math a little bit for how much that game matters.
Yeah. No, I fully agree in terms of that for sure. Like not only not divisional, but a non-conference game as well. So it certainly makes sense as to why this is the selection that it was. But it should be fun. I'm going to enjoy, obviously, Brian Flores, their defensive coordinator too. Like you can draw storylines here and it could be a fun matchup for sure. So Very excited for it, and we'll dive more into it as it gets closer and stuff like that. Maybe, on this very podcast tomorrow, we'll talk a lot more about it. But
should we tease that? We can tease that.
That was kind of my way of doing so. I didn't know how much you wanted to tease it. That's why I was like, I don't want to give it away. But
I'll tease a little more. We're going to have a special guest tomorrow involving the Steelers game in Ireland. How about that?
There we go. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I mean, everybody.
And while we're teasing things, Thursday at 6, live stream, SN Plus subscribers only, me, UDB, breaking down the Steelers schedule, plus whatever else you guys want to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, emphasis on only. You got to be subscribed to SN Plus. So still time to do that, obviously, before Thursday's live stream. You'll get a link to that and come participate in the live chat and throw whatever you want our way. We'll answer a bunch of questions just like this one from Cliff the Dark Knight on YouTube. Very pertinent question. The timeline of this certainly makes sense, and this is a relatively new comment that we got here as well. Hey, Alan, would a draft lottery work in the NFL similar to the NBA? Do you think that teams would be for or against it? And from the fans' perspective, do you think they'd be for or against it?
First of all, I love this question. Great question. And before I answer this question, I want to say I think the draft lottery is a good thing for the NBA. I think it's a good thing for the NHL, and I think it's a good thing for Major League Baseball. Whenever you have a season, as long as those sports have,
okay,
you have to fight to prevent games from becoming irrelevant to the team. You need to find a way as a league to prevent there being a negative benefit to sticking around, right? And the draft lottery is that. What the draft lottery does is I'm not talking about tanking in the hey, we go into the season, our team is going to be bad style tanking. That still happens.
Sure.
But those teams where hey, the bottom's kind of falling out and we just want to pack it in, you can end up, if you only 2 or 3 teams any given year are ever just going to decide to throw away an entire season. But you can have a lot of teams where hey, we give it a shot, things didn't go our way. Now it's near the end of the year and we think we'd rather lose these games than win them. To the point, especially Major League Baseball, you have a whole, there are days in September where there's 1 or 2 meaningful Major League Baseball games on the entire schedule between teams that are securely in it and teams that are securely out of it. And so I think those leagues need the draft lottery to dissuade teams from just packing it in. I don't think that's as much of an issue in football, for one, because of the structure of the schedule means that it takes a lot longer into the season for teams to get out of it. I mean, we figure 9-8 is going to make the playoffs. It's pretty hard to be out of being able to be 9-8 until December.
Yeah.
And I also think that to this point, tanking has not proven to be a winning strategy in the NFL. Teams have not given the NFL owners the ammunition to want to do this. And that is somebody going out there and just being bad on purpose, then getting a bunch of high draft picks and winning because of it. I've not seen teams, certainly there are teams that are bad, and there are teams that are, we're in wait till next year mode, or we're in a rebuild and things of that nature. But I haven't seen teams just straight up not try to win games or make uncompetitive games. And it would be hard in the NFL, I think, for there to be enough of that, for it to be a problem that someone would want to fix with something like a draft lottery. But it definitely can be a problem in those sports with longer seasons where you're able to get greater separation in the standings and really eliminate people with months to go in the season. Then I think it's a different problem for them.
Like the Colorado Rockies?
Yeah, right. Why would the Colorado Rockies want to win another game?
Yeah.
So, the fact that it's a lottery instead of just a straight slot system kind of, in some ways, will dissuade them from trying to do that. It is not providing them a benefit for losing every single game. Like, yeah, they're going to be bad no matter what. But, like, they don't get any additional – they don't get any pain for winning, which is what you want to provide a team in a situation like that. And I don't think that really exists in the NFL. Nor do I think it will. I don't think it is likely to. I don't think that football is a sport that is conducive to tanking in a lot of ways.
So I have two thoughts. One of them pertains just to the NFL, and the other one, any sport. The one specifically to the NFL, obviously, it was just a recent change that they made, but with the 7th playoff team being added on both sides, how much do you think that changed what you were talking about there, where you have obviously more competition down the stretch of things? And honestly, the second thought's not even related at all, so I'll get your thought on that first.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's a better way to approach the problem if you feel like you can absorb more playoff teams without making a farce out of your regular season. And I think the NFL has done a really nice job of that. I think the NBA, with their little play-in, has done a nice job of that. I think Major League Baseball, because the structure of the sport of baseball is so different from the regular season to postseason, like, I kind of feel like Major League Baseball has made the regular season almost irrelevant in a lot of ways by how far they've expanded the playoff field. And then with these little series that, like, it just feels like it's all luck. Like, and so I don't know. I'm not a fan of that format. But I think the NHL and the NBA, the way they run things, the number of teams they put in the playoffs, and then with their draft lotteries, make a lot of sense for those two leagues. I just don't think it makes sense for the NFL, or there's a need for the NFL to operate that way. And
the other
part is, if you don't need it, there is as you're seeing, if you're a citizen of the internet, there's a disincentive. Like, you don't want to have to do that as a league if you don't want to, because anytime you have one of these lotteries, every team that doesn't win it is going to scream that it was rigged.
Like, that was the second thought.
And I'm sure it's not, but good luck convincing people of that.
Right. Now, that was my second thought that I said applies to all leagues, obviously not just conducive to the NFL, just because I think that it takes when you put what could be random in play, I think that you're opening up that conversation to have happen, like dumb or not, true or false. I think that it makes it a conversation that otherwise wouldn't be without a lottery happening. So, like, we saw it just happen, obviously, with the NBA draft lottery, where the Mavericks trade away, a generational talent in Luka, and then end up with the number 1 pick with very short odds to do so, or very long odds, I should say, to do so. End up with the number 1 pick, and then you have a lot of people saying, well, the league wanted this to happen after they traded away Luka to get him to LA, get more eyes on him, so this is their reward for doing so. Again, as it comes out of my mouth, sounds kind of stupid, but it opens that conversation to happening because of the system.
Yeah, and like, I think one of the things the NFL really deserves a lot of credit for is that they've created a system, and they've created an ecosystem where it doesn't hurt the league that its biggest stars are in Kansas City. It doesn't hurt the league that Pittsburgh and Green Bay are two of its longest, most storied, winningest franchises. It doesn't matter. Los Angeles didn't have a team for like 2 decades, and still doesn't really support one of the two it has. It doesn't matter. The NFL is the ultimate equalizer, and I think the way they approach this stuff is just one more sort of example of it.
So, I guess within that, he was asking about thoughts from all sides of it, right? So do you get the sense that, like, because I don't know, that I guess you could speak to fan perspective just in general, not Steelers fans, but conversations that you've had, but also like teams, like I don't know, I would be interested if they were like, if they put this on the table to have a conversation about it at a meeting, what the thoughts would be of the teams, if this was even something they'd be interested in doing.
I don't get that sense from talking to people around the NFL. I think they like the draft the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think they feel good about their product. I think that's a reaction move. Where, like, something's happening that we don't like, and we can't come up with a better way to fix it, so let's go with this. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
anybody wants to have a lottery. I just think some people feel like they have to.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. All right. And from a fan perspective, like you said, I think as we've kind of talked about this here, if you're the worst team and then you don't end up getting the number, like the first time that would happen, my goodness, the outrage.
I will say this from a fan perspective, the lottery should be during the draft. Like, it should just be
okay.
Lottery balls, bing, bing, bing. Number one selection is Dallas Mavericks. Dallas Mavericks are on the clock.
Wow.
5 minutes later, bing, 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 bing. The Washington Wizards are on the clock, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That would be wonderful television.
Yeah. I guess that makes your preparation going into it, I think, much more expansive because you got to be prepared for any possible scenario that comes out of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But I love it. I mean, from an entertainment perspective, that to me, that's as good as you can get. This is an interesting one from.
I want live
did you
cameras
have any other
on
thoughts here?
general managers.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine, like, live shot of the war room as the general manager is just like sweating bullets, watching a ping pong ball go around, like that. That's just that feels epic to me.
I mean, we could use this last draft as a great example, right? Like, we knew Tennessee needed a quarterback, what they were going to do at 1, but imagine if they didn't land the number 1 pick, then like, what do they do? If it's, so it
would be devastating to the mock draft industry. I will say that. It will just immediately end the mock draft industry. Which
like a 5-minute window to get a mock draft out.
We don't want that. We don't want that.
As the balls are being pulled there. You have any other thoughts just in general regarding the draft lottery discussion?
No, I think that's about it. I'm not for it. I don't think they need it. And I like the NFL system the way it is. I think it's fair as long as teams don't try to abuse it. And so far, nobody really has.
Okay, so I guess that's the last thing is, hypothetical. What would have to happen for you to feel like that would need to be implemented? Like what we were talking about, where all of a sudden you have teams that are very clearly not, trying at the end of but like that's not going to happen because players are still playing for their jobs and stuff. So it'd have to be like the upper levels, I guess.
The team would have to like take some active steps to like.
Yeah.
So like, let's say, like Miami's out of it, right? Like they're like got like 6 wins going in the last 2 weeks of the season, something like that. And they just put like 15 guys on the injured reserve, right? Like everybody with a hangnail is going on the injured reserve, right? And they're taking it out of the players' hands. And they're saying, we're going to dress a whole team full of guys that we just pulled off of other teams' practice squads just to go get their butts kicked. Now, here's the very interesting thing is that, like, I don't think that's a good strategy. But we'll see. Like, if somebody did it and it didn't work, I think it would reinforce their beliefs. So someone will have to try it. They have to have the audacity to try it, and then it would have to work in order to really, I think, build some momentum for making a change there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm of the same mindset as you. I think it works for other leagues, but hard for me to picture the way they'd have to go in the end. I think it's just so unique of a league comparatively. That's what makes it different. Perry Nardi 7605 here says, take a look around at the players released or trade so far. You see most of them are brought in via free agency. That should reveal that you can't build a team with free agents and has to be built primarily through the draft. Look at Colbert's last 5 years as GM. You'll see there's like one starter still on the team. That should tell you that the reason that the team has not been able to move to the next level is because of the 5 drafts previous to Khan. Khan has had to rebuild the core of the team. In my opinion, has done a respectable job so far. Jury's still out because, in my opinion, it takes 3 to 5 years to evaluate an entire draft. But I like what I have seen so far. What are your thoughts?
I don't think there's one way to succeed in the NFL. Like, look at the Los Angeles Rams. Are we going to say they drafted and developed and then kept their drafted players, and that's why they had success in the playoffs? Or did they make 47 trades? Like I just think, like, there's definitely
that became a model that people were talking about. F them picks.
Yeah. I think there's definitely more than one way to go about it. So, I don't think there's only one way. And I think, I just think it's hard for me to say that you have to develop through the draft. I do think the Steelers are trying to develop through the draft. Sort of two different questions, right? Like, I do think the Steelers are trying to develop through the draft, but the Steelers certainly could be big players in free agency and make those free agents. I mean, look, the Steelers win 2 Super Bowls without Jeff Hardings and James Ferrier. Like, are they the core of the team? No, but like that's an important part of the process too. I don't think even the Steelers, who are a pretty traditional draft team, are like ignoring free agency or not considering free agency to be a viable way to make big picture long-term upgrades to the team.
Yeah, I mean, largely your roster is going to be just because of the salary cap perspective of it. Like, you need good players on their first contracts, obviously. But I mean, I definitely hear what you're saying. I think the Rams are a great example, but I also think like a big part of it, to me, biggest job as a GM is understanding where your team is. Like the Rams were in a spot where they felt like that is the move that they need to make to get them over the hump. If the Giants make that exact same move, we're calling them idiots. Why are you doing that at this stage or whatever? So I think it's a
big. I mean, Philadelphia Eagles got it Saquon Barkley in free agency. I mean, that's the move that makes them a Super Bowl champion for sure.
Yeah. So like really understanding where your roster is, what those pieces are, how can we acquire that piece or those pieces, is the big thing to me. But yeah, definitely in terms of like overall construction of the roster, I think it's a little bit about. I think it's a lot of the draft, a little bit of free agency sprinkled in, because to me those first contracts are so important.
It's hard to win if you don't hit on your first round picks.
Which was basically was largely said in this too. I mean, by Perry and Artie within their comment here, they were talking about the misses, obviously, that we've talked about time and time again as it relates to Kevin Colbert. Something else that we wanted to take a look at, Alan, you mentioned this to me, was on Sharp Football. They obviously keep an updated list in terms of the free agents that are available, and I came over to the website
into that
here.
with the piece of news on.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Little cornerback friend from last night.
What's that?
Santi Samuel. Jeremy Fowler last night that he had surgery on his neck and that he will not be signing until July.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's why we've been getting a lot of questions about why he wasn't signed yet and everything like that. There you go. Did we know it? Like, was it his shoulder going into his neck?
Initially announced as a shoulder.
Yeah.
Sounds like a stinger, probably. Like, I hate to play doctor, but like that.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. Is like, I don't want to play doctor, but also like, is there a level of concern going forward because of that? Not a guy that you like really wanted to tackle to begin with, and now this. I don't know. Is there gonna be even more trepidation there? But at the same time, like, if you're signing Santi Samuel, I think you're signing him because you really like the way that he can cover more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder about like the projection of moving him to the slot. Probably doesn't look quite so good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, if he's going to be shying away from contact, or if he, the idea would be like, hey, he can cover like a slot corner, and maybe we can get his tackling better. But I don't know if there's reason to have that confidence right now. So, Yeah, I think it definitely makes it a little bit questionable. I think I'd still be interested, though, if I was the Steelers. I think he's just too good of a player to ignore at a position where they don't really have anybody outside of DJ Metcalf.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I mean, I guess the question to me is the interest just in him, or is it just in the position in general? Because I think if you start going down the list here,
well, yeah, I mean, let's go down the list. Like, what else is there besides him at slot corner?
Mike Hilton. I mean, is that even? I would be. I would almost find it funny if that was a reunion that took place just because of goes to Cincinnati, and I don't want to say that the Steelers would sever ties because of that in terms of long term, but just kind of like some of the conversation, some of the things that he would have said and has said since leaving, I think would be super interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Rasul Douglas is still a free agent, but not in the slot. Kendall Fuller could make sense. Man, I don't know. Michael Davis.
Yeah, there's not a lot going on out there.
There's not a lot going on. No.
So, I mean, I think there is a, slot corner need. I feel like this is a very specific, Santi Samuel is the only player on his tier available, not just really at slot corner, but almost anywhere. Right? I mean, is there another player? Is he the best player available in all of free agency right now? Probably.
I mean, I guess it depends on how you feel about Justin Simmons still. He's still available. Kaisier White was pretty good last year, and he's still available. But yeah, I would say so. Like assuming that he's the same player still after this injury, yeah, I think he's the best at any position left.
Yeah, I do too. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes.
No, this is just real quick. I want to bring this up just because it's not a position that we're going to continue to look at. Is the running backs. If you needed a back, like not necessarily like a 3-down back, but somebody that could bring something, it's interesting the market that's still out there. J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, both backs that were with the Chargers last year. Nick Chubb's still out there. Cam Akers, Jamal Williams, Jeff Wilson, Amir Abdullah, Dearness Johnson. Like there's still some pretty solid backs out there if you're just looking for a very defined role.
It's a really good running back class in the draft. So I think that makes sense that there's still, some guys that are out there that didn't get picked up. But I also feel like that's just generally the way it goes with running backs. That there's usually a couple of scrap heap guys that you can pick from if you get into a situation where you get short on bodies in the middle of the season. It just always seems like there's somebody there. I don't know that I have an explanation for that part of it.
Well, yeah, the draft class part certainly makes sense to me. You're going to get probably a better player that's younger and most likely pay them less. So I understand that for sure. Obviously, with the quarterback stuff, Aaron Rodgers is the top name here. I mean, we've talked about this before, I think, but now that we sit here on May 13th, I think it's worth bringing up again. If Aaron Rodgers were to not sign here, we both think that it's eventually going to happen, but say it doesn't. They're going to add a quarterback in some form or fashion, at least one. Is there another name on the list that you look at and that's probably the guy if it's not Aaron Rodgers, or is there any intrigue with any of the other names?
I guess I could try Kirk Cousins. I don't really see it. I'll be perfectly honest. I mean, I would far rather have Aaron Rodgers. But I guess maybe Aaron, whatever, goes on a bad trip and loses his mind, and now this deal there he's just done. So they got to go, pivot again. I could see Carson Wentz being a fit.
Yeah.
And I think I would rather just sign Carson Wentz for $8 million than trade assets for Kirk Cousins and his contract. It's pretty clear that the Steelers are considering quarterback in this offseason to be a bridge.
Yeah.
The reason they didn't bring back Justin Fields was because they felt he was too expensive to be a bridge. They're going to sign Aaron Rodgers to a 1-year contract in all likelihood to be a bridge. They want to draft a quarterback in 26. So, like, I don't think they should be spending a lot of money on a guy just kind of whatever.
Yeah, I guess the way when you said that though, if you're paying Carson Wentz $8 million, you brought Mason back for $4 million. Is Carson Wentz your starter over Mason, or is it even though he's making more still a competition?
I think we have a competition. Sure.
Okay. All right. You don't think?
I'm not even sure who would win that competition. Do you have a gut feeling as who wins in Carson Mason? The Mason-Carson line.
I'll be honest. I'm going to go Mason.
I think a lot of Steelers fans would say Mason. I also think a lot of Steelers fans did not see Mason play with the Tennessee Titans last year. It was bad.
I did. I definitely did, and I wouldn't be super optimistic about it. But like the one thing I will say is, I think one of the things that gets accentuated within this offense is the deep ball, and I like Mason's deep ball better, and that's really what does the tiebreaker for me.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think that's just about it.
Okay. Good stuff as always. I'm super excited about tomorrow's podcast already. So definitely do not want to miss. Well, you don't want to miss any of them, but definitely don't want to miss tomorrow's one. So we'll tell you Alan will tell you what to do to make sure you don't miss it, along with everything that he needs to tell you when I tell him to tell you where you can find him.
Saunders _ PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now site account. SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the words so I can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus. That gets us paid more and directly, and we don't have to deal with weird third-party companies selling stuff that we don't care about and you don't care about. Just cut off those middlemen and subscribe to SN Plus. And you can join our SN Plus subscribers only live stream, which will be Thursday with at least me, Smitty, and DB, and we'll see what we can do about bringing the rest of the gang on board. Should be a good time. And I got no numbers to play the number game. So like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube channel as well. And
we're at 21. We're at 21.
Okay, you seem very
which means I got this jersey. Amos Zaraway.
That's a very good one. I have a couple banging around in my head. This is a good number. I'm going to go with Ricardo Coakley.
Yes. Love it. Also, Josh has got to be loving this because, with you in the car, obviously can't look right away to grab a name that's subscribed to SN Plus. Josh has just been chilling there on that banner for like a week, getting a shout out. So we appreciate Josh for subscribing to SN Plus, but he's been getting all the love down there.
Good job, Josh. Yeah, we got to replace Josh. Get him. Somebody sign up for SN Plus so we can get Josh. I mean, we love you, Josh. We appreciate you. But get him out. He's been there too long.
Yeah, he's been chilling down there. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Hit us in the comments with your thoughts on anything that we talked about today. Question for a future episode, all that good stuff. If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from, leave us a 5-star review. Subscribe over there. Heck, you could ask us a question within your review, and we'll definitely bring it up on the podcast as well. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok, and then you'll find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH, for Alan Saunders, and myself. Thanks for jumping in and taking another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.